Are you a progressive young leader, a proactive emerging executive, a rising professional? Then you need appropriate cover for your vehicle. Introducing the Pro Motor Plan from Beacon. Car insurance that includes free loss of use, windscreen cover up to $3,500, free special perils, free accident forgiveness. Get Beacon's Pro Motor Plan today. Don't procrastinate. Call Beacon today at 440-4447.
Good morning, clubbers, and of course, welcome to another edition of the Wake Up Club. Another terrific Tuesday in the Isle of Spice. So much to look forward to. Of course, I always remind you to practice gratitude. And this morning, I am grateful for life. I'm grateful for good health. I'm grateful for the opportunities out there. I'm grateful for family. I'm grateful for friends. And of course, I am grateful for you. I know you have a choice, you have options, but of course, you're loyal, you're a loyal clubber. You tune in every Tuesday and Friday on the Ride Along Network so we can chat about all things happening in Grenada and the world at large. We've got a fantastic show for you this morning. Of course, today is being celebrated world over as World Obesity Day. And of course, this morning, my guests are Dr. Sonia Nixon. She's, of course, a MD, and of course, she's also a public health consultant. She's also a member of the Grenada National Chronic Disease Commission. I'm also going to be speaking with the president of the Rotary Organization of Grenada, and of course, that is Mr. Otis Wade. So we have a fantastic show. We're going to dive into all the things that affect us when it comes to obesity. We're going to be talking about it. It affects us the world over and definitely affects us here in Grenada. We take a quick break, and when we come back, we dive straight into that conversation. We'll be right back.
Looking for the ultimate island experience? Hop on the Ride Tuk Tuk Rum Punch Tour and explore Grenada like never before. Feel the tropical breeze, sip on authentic Caribbean rum punch, and cruise through Grenada's stunning scenery in our unique and fun tuk-tuks. It's the perfect blend of adventure and island flavor. Book your unforgettable tour now at ride.gd or call 473-422-1011. Don't just see Grenada, experience it with Ride Tuk Tuk Rum Punch Tours today.
Welcome back, folk. And before we dive into the conversation with Dr. Nixon and Mr. Wade, I want to shout out the clubbers who are always here. I want to shout out Doris Charles. I want to shout out Laura Cador. I want to shout out Joanne Batson, Brenda Julian, my very good girl Gabby Bernard, Deborah Noel, Maria Williams, Anna Grant. I want you to know we appreciate you taking your time to join us this morning on the Wake Up Club. But without further ado, I want to invite my guests. We're going to start the conversation. I want to welcome Dr. Nixon and Mr. Wade to the Wake Up Club. Folk, welcome.
Good morning, Kirk. And thank you. I'm thankful that I'm thankful that you have us on your program. I'm really a morning person because I don't sound like this in the nights when I'm on TV. So good morning and thank you very much for having us this morning on this really very important day. And good morning to all of your clubbers.
Definitely.
Good morning. Thank you indeed. As Dr. Nixon just said, I thank your club and I thank you for the invite to talk about this.
Okay, not a problem. Now, before we dive into the topic, this program is about celebrating Grenadians doing great things. So we're going to begin ladies first. Dr. Nixon, in your own words, who is Dr. Nixon? Where is she from? Tell us a little bit about your background, and then we're going to ask Mr. Wade.
This is my background. Shut up itself. I come from Lamode in St. George's. That hill will take you up into Rady.
Okay.
Right? So that's Mount Maitland along that side. I grew up here. My family has been living in Lamode for 100 and almost 200 years. That's where we are. We've migrated if we've migrated, but other than that, Lamode is my home. I went to Heinze School. I went to convent for a while, and in the 70s, I went away to high school because when they had the crisis in Grenada, that's older than you, right? Wink, wink. And then I came back. It was at PBC in the days when they would allow us girls to go. And then I'm in the first batch of Cuban medical graduates. Okay. So we went away when in 1979, put our heads in the sand and went ahead because it was important to give to Grenada what it deserved. We had talent, we didn't have the treasure, but we also had time. So we went ahead and studied, those who studied medicine, engineering, but I'm of that first group of doctors who graduated from Cuba. I was living away for a while because we came back and there was no jobs initially, and my friends dragged me to Jamaica. And I went and gave the service that is, I guess, is you give it wherever you find a man is most useful where he's needed. That's what Jose Marti said. So I went away and worked in Jamaica for a long time. After crisis, I went to the US and then I'm back. Because my brother called me one day and said, listen to me, you guys got good education, you got free education, time to come home and work. And I've been here since. So I've been basically struggling with a private practice, but that's okay. That's occupational therapy. I spend most of my time working with the organizations that I support, like the National Chronic Disease Commission, the Cancer Society, Sickle Cell Association, you name it, Diabetes Association. Because the truth is, we really have a lot of challenges with a chronic disease and very little resources and even less human resources to approach the problems that we have. So here am I, original Grenadian and still the best.
Okay, definitely, and we're happy to have you.
Thank you.
Mr. Wade?
Well, my background is not as lofty as Dr. Nixon, so I am so glad to be in her presence. But, interesting you asked the question. I was visiting my brother-in-law yesterday with a friend, and I was pointing across the street, and I said, I was physically born in that house. So, I'm a Guelph man through and through. I wasn't born in the health center. I wasn't born in St. George's. I was born in Guelph, steps away from the Lance Bridge. But as a child in my family, my mother migrated to the US, and the same story as many of us who migrate as a young child. We made our life for ourselves in the US. I will say this, never take a young man's whims seriously before he's 25 years old. The brain just hasn't developed well enough. I was well on my track in college to study psychology, and I fell in love with photography. One thing led to another, and somehow I decided to spite my mother and join the military. It worked out for me still. It probably didn't work out because I found my wonderful wife there. I have 3 beautiful daughters, and I made a career of being an IT professional in the US. So I did fairly well, but I did have the bug to come back to Grenada and do nonprofit humanitarian work in any way, shape, or form that I could. And so my wife, remembering I said something like that when we initially got married, we've been married 35 years now, or at least will be here in May. She remembered that, and she reminded me of that. 10 years ago, we talked about it, we prayed about it, and we moved back to Grenada. And so here I am today. I volunteered at New Low. We started our own nonprofit organization, which helps assist a dental team to come into Grenada every year. They were just here, in fact, at the end of January, beginning of February. But then I was introduced to the Rotary Club. And so the nonprofit while it focuses on the dental team, most of my activities now is focused through Rotary as far as serving my fellow Grenadians.
Definitely. Well, I want to welcome both of you to the Wake Up Club. You are now officially clubbers. And we're having a conversation about obesity. Today is World Obesity Day. And, you know, my first question, and it's for anybody, it's about understanding obesity. How would you define obesity? And what do you attribute to the rise we're seeing in obesity worldwide?
So obesity is that condition or state where somebody's body weight is about 30%, 35% of what the allowed body weight is. So there's a range. If you're 5'6", how heavy you should weigh, how much, and that weight is attributable to fat, not muscle weight. So you could be a big bodybuilder who's 5'6" and weigh 260 pounds, but it's all muscle. That is not considered obesity, but it's attributable to fat. Okay, why are we worried? We worry because of the trends we've been seeing, not just in what people look like, not just in how much they suffer if they're obese, right? When the things you miss, the things about the physical activities that may be limited. Think about running, think about developing asthma, especially like in children. Just think about the things you miss, but think about the things that don't miss you. Because we know recently, in the last 2-3 years, obesity has been considered a disease. Not only a risk for other diseases, but a disease on its own. Because there are just so many of us in this world who are 35% above our allowed weight. Okay? Obesity contributes, apart from being a disease on its own, contributes to a lot of the chronic diseases we're struggling to fight. Hypertension, diabetes, which all bring their own complications. You know, you have stroke, you have heart attack, you have heart failure, you name it. You have limb loss, blindness, renal failure, kidney failure, I should say, right? You have all of those things where the foundation is laid in obesity. And I'm not saying that everybody who's obese will have that. And I'm also not saying that everybody who is not obese will not have that. Do you understand? Because it could be skinny, because there's a condition in Caribbean people, for example, skinny as a rake, and they have diabetes. It's a special thing we've seen among the Caribbean population, especially in North America, where they kind of are together. We've seen that, right? But we know that obesity will contribute to those diseases. And as a condition on its own, right? It has its own challenges in people's lifestyle and otherwise. Mm-hmm. And so the World Health Organization has taken this on as a task to fight, because we have been fighting chronic disease, right? Cancer is also a chronic disease, and we've seen more and more that the cancer results in people who are obese, right? So we have to take the bull by the horns, although we kind of holding on to the neck by now because it's been such a big problem for us. But so let me explain to you where the Caribbean comes in this. Mm-hmm. In 2006, I think, 2007, after coming from the United Nations high-level meeting that they have in September, where the Caribbean leaders postulated the challenge of chronic diseases, hypertension and diabetes in particular then, right? We were given a mandate. There was a Port au Prince convention where the CARICOM leaders took on and gave themselves a mandate to approach this chronic disease thing. Because when you have, let's say half your population has hypertension, diabetes, and they're not able to work, think about your productivity, right? How much it drops. People who have heart attacks can't work. However, when you have that level of disease, not only do you have a lot of loss of labor, loss of productivity, loss of life for people with cancer. Fancy yourself being a 42-year-old woman, single mother with 4 kids, and you have stage 4 breast cancer. Okay? Think about all the bad things there. Okay? But also think about the cost. And our health system in the Caribbean, we don't have a lot of money. We don't even have enough money. And even though in Grenada last budget of 2023, we probably had like 17% of the budget going into health. Barely scratches the surface. And what we see is the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg, and it barely scratches the tip. So go figure, right? We have a lot of challenges. And if we had to invest more and more money in fixing, why don't we go back and prevent? So we're going to have to change our lifestyles. We're going to have to change our behaviors. We're going to have to change a lot of other things. We're going to have to develop policy and other things that make sure that we can prevent obesity. I'm going to come to childhood obesity because that is what we're trying to focus on in Grenada this week, right? We have to do that which is necessary. And so you asked, why is it that we have obesity? Very many of us eat like how our grandmother used to cook.
Well, you see, I was just going to ask you that, because we spoke about what obesity is. We spoke about some of the health factors so far, but and you also spoke about trends and I think culturally, as you said it, we are not doing some of the things we're doing. We're all advancing, so everybody's working. I see it within my own home where, the easiest thing I see that, my niece gives her children is she pulls out a pack of nuggets from the refrigerator, and that is dinner.
Yeah, and that's flour and a lot of flour and a little bit of sugar. And then we give pasta, which is only flour, freeze dried. I call it dried flour. That's what it is. The pasta that we buy doesn't include eggs like the Italians do when they're making their pasta, their homemade pasta. The quantity of children commit. So what they're eating is very highly processed foods. No, we stop calling them food. We call them ultra processed products.
Okay.
Go to the supermarket and take up a bag. Do you know those bags that make all the noise because they try to keep everything fresh? Right? Take it up. And they're just ultra processed products. Look for the protein content, often low. Look for the mineral content. No iron, no this, no that. All those micronutrients that our children need to grow and we need to be healthy are absent. Yet we consume large volumes of it. It's easy to open one pack of macaroni and think it, and then you have a piece of chicken, tastes nice and all the rest of it. It's easy to give our children ramen, noodles. So when you go home, because they can do a little to hold them still until you come home and you prepare a meal. But it's bad. So like in Mexico, for example, ramen is banned. You're not allowed to give children ramen. Because ramen has, apart from it's just pure carbs in that thing, carbs, which is like cardboard anyway, the salt content, and that is addictive. Okay, you want all that salt. It tastes nice. A lot of the food we buy in the store, nice, it has salt. And then it has that oily thing, which contain trans fats, which increase your cholesterol. And of course, help out all the diseases that you have. Sorry about my dog. But the foods we get that are affordable. And I thought of Hurricane Beryl and the people of Carriacou who still eat a lot of potato and corn and stuff that they grow, and how we had to provide food stuff to make sure that they had something in their body. But are we giving everything that they need? Could we?
But you see, you mentioned the financial aspect of it, and to be quite honest with you, I would tell you, because I am obese, I know that. I try as best as I can to eat healthy, but I know for the average person in Grenada, eating healthy is expensive, and most people can't afford to. So there you have the pickle.
Your voice is gone.
My voice, you hearing me now?
Oh, I'm hearing you now, yes.
Yeah, so
I heard about the pickle.
The financial implication. A lot of families in Grenada, they're struggling to get by. So the easiest thing that they can afford to stretch that dollar to feed their children, and I mean to say it's no excuse, but we have to look at it from an honest perspective, is the flour, the pasta,
And the rice.
and the rice.
And you're quite right. And remember me talking about policy?
Mhm.
You're gone again.
No, I'm listening to you.
Okay. So
You said
remember me talking
policy.
about right. Remember me talking about policy?
Uh-huh.
Who has the responsibility for that food security that our population needs? And I think the government has to look at that, because we know that food is expensive. We know that the things we want to buy in the supermarket are expensive. And I find that we have very few choices when we go to the supermarket, because most of these products are ultra processed, right? So we therefore have to ensure, as part of obesity control, that we have policy that ensure that our country people, all of the citizens have the food, because that's only one part of it, right? The food that makes that attributes to a better quality of nutrition. Okay, we have to teach people how to control the portions, because we eat a lot. Okay, nobody eat a tea plate of oil down. Hoist it up on a big plate for me. Okay, and that's a lot of food, right? Eat oil down. You eat one big slice of breadfruit, all the potato, whatever else people put in oil down. It's all there. And of course, we have all that salt, right, and the fat from the fatty meats that are there. So it's, and I'm not cussing oil. I'm just saying we have to be a little more conscious about how much of what we have that we eat. I would tell you, eat breadfruit over eat rice, but don't eat the whole breadfruit. Eat a nice slice of breadfruit. You don't have to eat the whole, like how you want to eat a whole pot of rice. Don't eat the whole breadfruit. There's also another component to obesity prevention, and that is the kind of lifestyle we live. Look at us. We've been sitting for half hour. We come out of our bed and we sit for half hour. And I sit all day, and you sit in your office all day making phone calls. And you work, and at the end of the day, it's 8 hours. And you have not even walked to the bathroom. You have not even gone to open the door, right? We are generally quite inactive. And so we see activity, because if you go, you're at the mall and you want to go over to marketing board, you drive. You want to go to the post office, you get in your car and drive, and you could just walk under the tunnel. I'm just saying, we are not active. I went to convent, and I can tell you, I didn't even realize you can drive up that hill and go up to school. And the kids who take a bus from the bus stand and go up to convent explain to me why. Okay, the activity. I remember us running along between activities at school. Then we finished at 1:30, so there are a lot of activities, extracurricular activities. And I remember running up St. John Street. No, I could hardly walk up St. John Street because it looked like it's laid there to kill me. But the point is, we are active. No, I'm serious. You walk up and like, Lord have mercy. But the point is that our children are not as active, and we are not as active. And our children are not as active because we in families are probably not as active as we should be. And I'm not saying go buy Nike shoes and Reebok t-shirts and all this. I'm saying go for a walk. I'm saying when you go to church, instead when you're going to do prayer meeting, do your prayer meeting around the church and walk. I'm saying encourage your children to play ring games. Ring a Rosie who stole the cookie from the cookie jar. And we moved, right? I'm saying we need to increase the amount of movement, right, in our children, because I tell you what we discovered, that our children can't skip. They don't have the dexterity.
Whoa.
They can't skip.
Definitely.
Okay.
And as you mentioned children, I want to bring in Mr. Wade here, because I know on March 8th, I believe, the Rotary Organization of Grenada, they're having a child obesity walk. Can you dive in and tell us a little bit about that before we join the conversation again?
Yes. So as you said, March 8th, 4 p.m. So please don't show up at 4 p.m. Show up a little bit earlier. We'll be meeting at Quarantine Park. If you haven't been there, I strongly encourage all of your listeners to tell all of their friends about Quarantine Park. It's not a park like your local community park where it's mostly reserved for cricket or a football game. It's meant for families, and the Rotary Club has been maintaining that park for a number of years now, and we encourage families to come and enjoy the park for free. So we congregate at the park. There's a walking trail up there. Then we're going to walk down around Monrouge Field, back down to the South Police Station, the South St. George Police Station, and then back up to Quarantine Park. they should be doing a lap around the park on a walking trail that was put there by Rotary Club of Grenada, um, as well as there's a number of activities once they get back up there. So they'll be doing, we're going to be doing screening for blood pressure checks, diabetes. We're going to be talking about food and the nutritional council, giving people ideas on healthy eating. You were just talking about that with Dr. Nixon. I should say Rotarian Dr. Nixon. She's one of our best and brightest. So we have a number of amenities that's going to happen on that day. So it's not just a walk, but the walk is very important because we're trying to help people with their weight control and encourage them to do so. I would love to encourage the youth as well as the elderly. If you want a safe place to walk, as you get older, it becomes difficult to walk on Grandlands Beach because the unevenness of the sand, the softness of the sand. Quarantine Park would be a fantastic place for them to go out and do so on the level ground. And we have, uh, toiletries up there, a toilet up there, so they don't have to try and rush out. There are places they can take care for themselves, and we have water and other things up there. So the World Obesity Day, I would love for, this is not a new thing, but it is something through persons like yourself and being now that you said I'm an official clubber, I hope more people will get this. I am obese myself, based on the criteria that's laid out, as hopefully laid out by Dr. Nixon. I am also obese. I need to go out and walk. I know as a child in Grenada, I was not obese because back then it was a luxury for you to be able to own a car, your family to own a car. So you walked everywhere. After church on Sunday, you go home, you ate some lunch, and you walk to go visit family members. If you're still visiting family members today, you're getting a ride. You're taking a taxi, So you don't walk up. My family live in Brothers. Used to walk from Guelph shopping and walk up to Brothers. Now you take a $10, $20 taxi because it's easier. So these are the things that has contributed to this obesity issue that's in our children, because as adults, we instill that in them by feeding them poorly. So the Rotary Club, even our district, there are a number of things that District 7030 is asking every Rotary Club. Well, every Rotary Club worldwide, but our district in particular, we want to encourage persons to drink more water. So on the 8th, when you come up there, you won't see soft drinks being sold. One of the reasons I'm obese, I'm partial to a Coke myself. I'm drinking a Coca-Cola. But I do understand the importance of drinking water, and I want to instill that in my children. If I may digress a little bit, I did a better job as a young parent with my first 2 children than I did with my third. Because in that, we left our first daughter, with a babysitter. My wife and I went out, and they were with a babysitter. The babysitter tried to give her a Sprite. My daughter had never had a Sprite in her life. She never had a soda at that age. And she hated it, absolutely hated it. And the babysitter just thought she was being rude because she spat it out. She never had something like that. The carbonation was too much for her. And I always look back on that, and it's like, I feel sad that my youngest didn't have that same level of parenting that the first one did. So I understand the challenges of parenthood and becoming tired and, taking the easy route as you get older and life challenges a struggle. But we can't fall down on our children. You set the children on a good path as a child, they will do well today. That young daughter doesn't drink half the soft drinks I do, that she remembers. Yes, she still drink an occasional soft drink, but she remembers. And so she drinks way more water than I do, so we need to do better as parents. And I'm not trying to chastise. I'm just saying, if you set a child on a good path as a childhood, they're more likely to hold that habit all the way through, right? And so that's why the Rotary clubs, and our Rotary Club here in Grenada is is happy to participate in this, happy to promote the physical activity side of staying healthy, just walking more frequently rather than sitting and watching TVs. Granted, I didn't have TVs in the home as a child, living when I was a child in Grenada, particularly in Guelph. We didn't have that, so we had to play outside. So the kids have too many distractions right now to do that. So as parents, so we don't want just to see, we want to see entire families come out for this activity.
Okay, so definitely it's happening at March 8th. It's a quarantine point. It is a child obesity walk, but it is actually an entire health fair because you could get your blood pressure, your blood sugar checks, and all of that happening. So, folks, I want to encourage you. Remember, it's a family event. What I also liked, and I had never considered, because I've been thinking about starting walking, and I never considered Quarantine Point as a place to exercise. And I really like the fact that you mentioned that or senior citizens, it's probably the right atmosphere for them to go and do that walk, because I see people walking on the main road and I am frightened. So definitely, folk, it's happening on the 8th. It's being spearheaded by the Rotary Organization of Grenada. I would say it's a walk for child obesity, but it's also a health fair. So I want to encourage you to go out there and participate. Dr. Nixon, we're speaking about obesity, but I know that obesity and mental health is tied at some level. Can you address that, please? Not hearing Dr. Nixon. Dr. Nixon, we're not hearing you. I don't know if you muted your audio.
Samantha.
Dr. Nixon? No, we're not hearing Dr. Nixon. Hey, folks, we take a quick break and we'll be right back. Junior.
Looking for the ultimate island experience? Hop on the Ride Tuk Tuk Rum Punch Tour and explore Grenada like never before. Feel the tropical breeze, sip on authentic Caribbean rum punch, and cruise through Grenada's stunning scenery in our unique and fun tuk-tuks. It's the perfect blend of adventure and island flavor. Book your unforgettable tour now at ride.gd or call 473-422-1011. Don't just see Grenada, experience it with Ride Tuk Tuk Rum Punch Tours today.
Welcome back, folk. Of course, this morning we're chatting with Dr. Sonia Nixon and, of course, Mr. Wade, the president of the Rotary Organization of Grenada. We're talking obesity. Today is being celebrated worldwide as World Obesity Day. Folk, welcome back to the Wake Up Club. Dr. Nixon, are you live again? No, we're not hearing Dr. Nixon. Dr. Nixon, what I would suggest that you log out and see if you could log back in and see if we can get the audio back. Okay. Mr. Wade.
Yes.
You're going to have to jump in until we get Dr. Nixon back in. I know you've been dealing with, you've had a long history in information technology. And as you mentioned it, a lot of our children are not playing outside anymore. They're stuck behind a tablet. From a technological point of view, is there anything we can do? Because I don't know if technology adds to getting our children more active.
That is an interesting thing. You make me think about, do you remember when the Wii first came out?
Yes.
A few years ago, it was a big splash of a game, and that was a technology, but it got you up off the couch, right? Mm-hmm. You had to move to make it happen. Uh-huh. And so that and it didn't cost as much as some of the games that you buy today, where you just buy a cartridge, and it was less sedentary. And so it saddened me to see that that quickly went out of phase. That was a perfect example of technology marrying itself with your daily life and how we can help you have fun as well as stay fit.
Mhm.
So today, I you stumped me. You really stumped me, because I
No,
wish there were
because I remember
more
those
technology
active
things like that.
games.
Yeah.
You were either playing golf, you were swinging a bat, you were active with the technology.
Yeah, indeed. Because there is not less technology to help children get moving these days, right?
Mhm.
I firmly believe that there is not less, but they're not as engaging, right?
Okay.
That's part of the problem. It's not as an engaging thing as the Wii was, and so, but because of that, we can't. That's why it's so important that the parents play such a role in the child's lives. We can't look at outside forces to help you raise a healthy child. We have to do that as parents ourselves, because these things will come and they go. Something as wonderful as the Wii will be supplanted by something that's way more sedentary, um, and contributing to their eating, because as they're eating, as they're playing, they're constantly eating, right? And that's the only motion they get, is just moving their hands. And
Mhm.
so I think that's why it's so important. As a Rotary Club, we wanted to highlight not just childhood obesity, but family being knowledgeable enough about what childhood obesity is and be more participative in that.
Okay, well, I appreciate it. Hopefully, Dr. Nixon, we can hear you now. I don't know what's happened. I don't know what's happened with your audio. We've been having these technological issues since morning. That's why we started a little later. I think we definitely will dive into that. But Dr. Wade, until she gets this thing sorted out, um, the quarantine park. Can you tell us more about what's happening there? And because you talk about family and we talk about taking children out the home. And I was just thinking to myself, well, we probably need to encourage parents to take their children to the beach and all of those different things. But then I'm worried that we'll take our children to the beach and they'll take this with them. And then they're on the beach, but they're in the corner on the beach on the phone. I don't know if we're able to I don't know how to fight that
I
crisis.
agree. Yeah, because some of us spend more time laying on the sand on the phone than we are in the water swimming, or
Mhm.
if we're more like lounging in the water rather than swimming. So we don't swim necessarily as Grenadians. We soak, if you will. And we sit and we talk and we soak. But at QP, one of the things I like is the fact that a couple of years ago we did put that walking trail in. And
Mhm.
what we're seeing is, yes, they may have the phone in their hand, right? But guess what? They're walking with that phone in their hand. So
Mhm.
I don't know if it's a losing battle, or maybe it is, to get the phone away from the kids. So because there's such a marvelous world within that small device, that so what we have to do is get them, while they're doing that, maybe focus on, okay, what else can you do at the same time?
Mhm.
So one of the things that was proposed a number of years ago, and I hope to see it come to fruition, because a lot of the things we do as a Rotary Club is we rely on donations to fulfill a lot of the goodwill that you see happen, right? So we'd love to see exercise stations placed around Quarantine Park. So as you're walking the trail,
Mhm.
you'll come to a section that maybe you do a little pull up, one that show you how to do crunches, or you can sit and do crunches, that sort of thing. That was envisioned a number of years ago when I first joined Rotary. I've only been a member about 8 years,
Mhm.
um, and so as we fundraise to build up Quarantine and make it a more attractive space for every Grenadian particularly, in- for every Grenadian, and when I say every Grenadian, I really do mean every Grenadian, because I would love to see the schools utilize quarantine more frequently. The school trip. You talk about walking on the road, right? Well, the schools, when they do their cross-country trek with the kids running on the street, I get nervous for them.
I don't like it
All
at
these kids
all. I
running.
don't.
Yes, and they're into running. I know it's something that it's part of our school curriculum, uh, but maybe they could think about reach out to the Rotary Club of Grenada and talk about how can we utilize the quarantine to help with that.
Yeah, I am paranoid about it when I see it. And I always say if I had children, they would not be active because I wouldn't like my 6, 7, 8 year old running on the main road, you know?
Yeah,
And yeah, there's supervision points, but to me, they're not pavements, it's just dangerous. And I like the fact that we can probably think about the uses of quarantine point more, from a national level. You said you joined 8 years ago. I remember 15, 20 years ago, based on the beauty of quarantine point, I remember the likes of Lex and Medford and so forth having their aerobic classes down there, and people would go down and be able to join. So I think it's something that we can definitely explore further.
absolutely, absolutely. And so you mentioned aerobics, and we do see people that slowly, as the word get out, we had Christmas at the point at quarantine, and there were so many people. I worked the gate, and it was so many people that was in awe that was there.
Mhm.
Really, this is open for free to Grenadians to just come and bring their families and friends, and they had no clue. They came to see Christmas lights, and they discovered a lot more about what is available to them in Grenada. And that's our commitment as Rotary Club of Grenada, to care for that property and try to hold on to it as long as we can and develop it in such a way that our people can enjoy its benefits, whether it's just for an emotional break or your physical health. They can utilize this space. It's a safe space. It's amazing. It's one of the things that even the tour groups, we would go there, and you could hear the murmurings of the visitors, and it's like, wow, this is a fantastic place. We should see more Grenadians hanging out here, and that's what we would like to see. Make it a health space and an emotionally safe space, a rest and relaxation space, um, and a family get together. That's churches get to meet there. We invite churches, we invite schools, we invite the general community to come to quarantine and see how it can be utilized other than just for concerts and parties, because we invite those as well. But we're talking about the health of children, and that's definitely a place they can do that.
Okay, definitely. I think we've lost Dr. Nixon, but we're almost out of time. But I think we've kind of covered most of the topics. We've covered the fact that, it's World Obesity Day, and we've got to look at our lifestyles differently. We've got to be more active. We've got to look at eating healthier. That, as we progress, we seem to be doing things backwards. We're giving our children the ramen and the chicken nuggets and all these foods that have no nutritional value whatsoever. I spoke about how expensive it is to eat healthy, and it is. And then a couple of people in the comments say, well, no, it's not expensive to eat healthy. Everybody have a backyard. And yes, everybody has a backyard, but is everybody planting? We're not, most you can't get young people to go and plant anymore, but it is definitely something to encourage people to do. If you have a little plot of land behind your house, you could plant some vegetables, to help sustain your lifestyle. Definitely, we spoke about the Rotary Organization of Grenada having a child obesity march happening on the 8th. It starts at 4 p.m. We want to encourage you to go out and bring the families out there to support. It's also a health fair. I know one of the things we don't do in Grenada, especially us men, we don't seek help. So, they're going to be, blood pressure screening, glucose screening, all these different things. Listen, it's a fun day. Take your children out on March 8th. Mr. Wade, any closing remarks?
Well, I do want to thank you again. This was a wonderful opportunity, and Dr. Sonia, it saddens me that she was having such technology, because she's a major thrust behind this initiative, not just for the Rotary Club of Grenada, but Grenada and the health department in general. It is something that we tend to spotlight every year. Mm-hmm. It is something that we're seeking more partners, corporate partnerships, individual partnerships, to help highlight, because it will become the health issue of the next generation. It already is, apparently. And so we need to do our best, and we plan to do our best as Rotarians to help curb that, if you will. And so I thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you and all your viewers and listeners on the 8th, Quarantine Park.
No, definitely. You're going to see me because, I am making a concerted effort to get out there and to start walking. I was paranoid about walking on the main road. Not that I care what people see. It's just from a safety perspective. I didn't feel safe walking on the main road. But to be very honest, I never considered Quarantine Point. And I think walking at Quarantine Point, I probably will lose myself in the ambience that I probably wouldn't realize how far I really am walking.
That is an excellent point. That is an excellent point, because the view from that park is unbelievable. It is truly unbelievable. And you may find yourself, before you know it, it's 45 minutes, an hour has gone by. You burn a few calories, mm-hmm. but you don't feel like it. And that's some of the things that people worry about, right? They're so exhausted and it's such a drudgery. Get out. If you enjoy what you do, it doesn't feel like work.
Okay. Well, it's definitely a pleasure. Don't be a stranger. If there's something happening at the Rotary Club and you don't need to come on, you could probably just send the information to me and I'd be happy to share it with clubbers world over. I want to thank you again for joining us this morning. I want to, of course, extend my appreciation to Dr. Sonia Nixon. We've been having technical difficulties. That's the world over. Definitely, I'm going to reach out to her after. And if there's any information I need to share, because I really want to touch on the mental health aspect as it's associated with obesity. I want to thank you again for joining us. I want to wish you a terrific Tuesday, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. All the best.
Okay. Clubbers, I want to...
What if you had a choice? A choice of joining a line or a choice of making your purchases online? What would you choose? While you ponder on that, the National Lotteries Authority has provided another purchasing option. All their games are now available online. Yes, Grenadians! From wherever you are, purchase your favorite daily and jackpot type games using any electronic device. Register on the NLA's website at www.nla.gd. Top up your account and enjoy online lottery gaming at your convenience. We're taking shopping comfort up several notches, but the choice is yours. Join a line or buy online. NLA, make your dreams come true.